As a doc, you have to show the empathy to the patients. And if you go look at today's clinics, most of the doctor time is spent in front of the computer screen, rather than like with the patient. I'm talking about a traditional clinic right now. And so that has to change.
Welcome to the Conversations on AppliedAI podcast, where Justin Grammens and the team at Emerging Technologies North talk with experts in the fields of artificial intelligence and deep learning. In each episode, we cut through the hype and dive into how these technologies are being applied to real-world problems today. We hope that you find this episode educational and applicable to your industry, and connect with us to learn more about our organization at AppliedAI.mn. Enjoy.
Welcome, everyone, to the Conversations on AppliedAI podcast. This week, we're lucky enough to have Senthil Kumaran join us, the CIO-CTO of Virtuwell. Virtuwell is an online medical clinic that provides 24/7 access, friendly, certified nurse practitioners for common conditions. As you might suspect, they've been using AI and machine learning in a number of ways across their business, and we're thrilled to have him here today to talk not only about the applications of AI, but learn more about his career and current trends in the industry. So welcome, Senthil.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome. So just as a sort of brief introduction, I guess, maybe you want to tell us a little bit about maybe your background, you have any hobbies or sort of things on a personal side that you enjoy doing?
For sure. So where do I start? I'll start all the way from the beginning. My dad wanted me to become a doc because I was the studious one in my family. But then on the first time when I saw blood, I fainted. So there went all his hopes. So then I chose engineering. I grew up in South India, place south of Coimbatore called Erode. Pretty small town. Went to engineering over there. I did electronics and communication. Then immediately afterwards, I did master's in engineering and applied electronics. And believe it or not, I did microprocessor-based programming when I started my career, and then Smalltalk and C++. Then I landed a job at Infosys. Back then, it was a pretty small firm, so I was like employee number 600 or something like that.
Nice.
When I started in Bangalore, and they were just moving to their new office. And from Infosys, I got exposed to Java, and that's why I landed an opportunity at IBM Consulting. Took a flight all the way from Bangalore, landed in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, out of all places. IBM put me out there in a project at a publishing company. I had some system software experience plus Java. So that's how I started my career. Then I came here to Twin Cities 20 years ago. And I've consulted in a lot of companies around here in Twin Cities, right? From Deluxe Checks to Carlson, Wagner Travel to HITEC to United Health Group, different divisions of United Health Group. And then for the last 10 plus years, I'm at Virtuwell.
Cool. Very good. In your consulting days, I'm just kind of curious, was a lot of it in Java? Did you find that to be sort of the language of choice?
Yep. So it was mostly Java. Then I moved on to a lot of front-end tech. So mostly team leading, building a team. I had like a lot of hands on different websites around different Twin Cities companies.
Cool. Yeah, I've told people, I think the smartest thing I did was learn Java in the sort of mid to late 90s when it first came out. It's just a great sort of, a language to learn since it's all, object oriented, but it spans so many different industries. So it's really helped me out in my career. Assuming you probably saw the same.
For sure.
So now the new hot term is AI, right?
Yes.
So everyone wants to learn AI, maybe just like everyone wanted to learn Java back in the early days. Everyone's focused on this sort of AI thing. And I'm curious, maybe like, how do you define AI for people that are outside of the field, right? Do you have sort of a layman's terminology on sort of what it is? How would you, if you have an elevator pitch?
This is how before we discuss AI. So if you really look at it, mid 90s to late 90s is when the web came in. So a lot of the top 5% companies, even Amazon at the time, they all had some kind of a presence. And then everybody else woke up in year 2000 that, we all need a .com. And then actually .com bust happened, obviously. But the next 10 years was web. Late 2007-8 timeframe, mobile started picking up. Top 5% of companies paid attention to that. Then the rest of us, after 2020, woke up and said like, it is mobile first. So same thing happened in 2016, 17, AI, and then Google's and Amazon's and Netflix and Facebook, they all ventured in and they are making a huge dough right now. And then rest of us are waking up in year 2020. So every 10 years, this is my story. every 10 years, there is some new tech, isn't it? Web was 2000 to 2010. Everybody now has a website, isn't it? Then it was all mobile first. Now it's going to be AI first.
Okay.
You don't have to be a technology company. So you have to have some kind of a value add for your customers, enhance your customer engagement. And AI is the play. So it's a new revenue generation tool. It's definitely a cost reduction, operational efficiency tech tool. So you have to get your feet dirty, hands dirty, and get on it. I know a lot of people talk about, oh, it's machines, they learn, it's going to replace every one of us, it learns, adapts, and what's going to happen. I think Hollywood has some role to play on that, I guess. But if you really look at it, AI to me is the next tech that everybody has to get their hands dirty. I mean, it's the next 10 years is where your dough is going to be made, is what I believe.
Do you view that as coming out of just, there have been people that have been doing data analytics, there's been dashboards and reporting, there's been all this sort of stuff that's been happening for quite some time, but do you think this sort of came out of that? This AI sort of came out of that field, or is it a fresh new approach?
Now with the predictive algorithms, there's so many, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then the cloud infrastructure made us to achieve all of our data dreams. Before, the data was all in different silos. It took quite a bit of time to get everything in one place. Now we have some kind of a cloud environment where you can make it the data liberation, and then you can do a lot more analysis and predictions and prescriptions with it. So that's why it has become a lot easier today compared to 10, 15 years ago. That's what I believe, isn't it? Like previously, the hardware was a huge challenge,
right?
And now that has been liberated, so anybody can do anything.
Yep.
So look at the Kaggle competitions. See the folks who are making difference right now all around the world. And so that kind of liberation is definitely helping the community.
Totally. Yeah, it feels like there's sort of I guess another word is commoditization. Things become commoditized. So,
Yes.
like you say, websites, everyone has a website because you can literally start up a website for next to nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
Mobile's becoming more and more commoditized. Everyone has an app now these days.
Correct. Correct.
And now anyone can spin up a cloud instance and do whatever they need pretty quickly. It's a commodity.
I still remember in mid-90s, it was like $40 to do some kind of transactions. So now with tech, it's been liberated, isn't it? Everybody can pick up their phone and just do all these financial transactions in no seconds without any fee. And that's what the software and hardware has got us here.
So how are you guys then using this new tech at Virtuwell? If you could speak a little bit about that, or even in the healthcare industry in general, sort of what are you seeing?
Yeah, in general, what I see is that we have to get to some kind of personalized healthcare. Definitely the cost is increasing. So the idea behind Virtuwell is giving a better consumer experience and also better health outcome for the patients with some kind of an improved care provider experience. If you go look at some of the leading hospitals right now, their providers, I mean, when I say providers, it's the physicians and nurse practitioners and clinicians and the physician assistants and nurses who work in the system. So all these care provider experience are not all that great in a lot of the leading hospitals. So at Virtuwell, we want to turn not only for a better consumer experience, but also a better health outcome and also a good care provider experience. And all of this at a lower cost of care. Because what I believe is when we look at it 40 years ago, I think our healthcare was 5% or 4% of our GDP. And right now it's closer to 20% of our GDP.
Wow.
Or 19. And then if you look at a lot of other numbers, we are not the number one healthcare system in the world. Some rate us as number 18, so some rate us as number 20. We are 5 to 8 times expensive than the next best person. So this is your number 20 in the NFL draft and being purchased 20 times more or 10 times more than the next best person. So that's how our healthcare system is right now. So I'm not going to comment more on that. But the idea behind Virtuwell is to definitely increase a better health outcome, provide free follow-up care, and also lower cost of care. So ours is at $49 flat fee across different treatment plans, and it's one time you pay until you get better. So that's a different kind of a model, which started 10 years ago, and we have a lot of traction.
That's great. Very, very cool. I know you spoke at our Applied AI meetup last month here, and you talked about a number of different, I guess, applications, right? There's a number of different people that are trying to use this new technology to, like you say, provide better care, increase patient outcome with maybe better doctor visits, and, other things like that. Maybe you could touch on a couple of those, I guess, that are sort of top of mind. And we don't need the name of the company, but I don't know if you have any that you sort of like go to that are like, hey, here's a great way that a company is using AI to sort of improve. Because like you said, we're not doing very good in the United States, I guess, right? There's a lot of room for improvement. So what are some areas specifically that maybe you've seen?
On the healthcare or care delivery, Justin? So there are quite a bit, like Babalon Health is one. I know a lot of the telehealth companies that are working right now, they're all doing video visits, but that's only solving a part of the problem. So what we need to do is we need to get some all data digitized and then analyze the data and create like patients like me and figure out a personalized treatment plan for me. So that's where the future is. And then the Internet of Things is also picking up the healthcare things with a lot of new devices popping up. So there are quite a few companies who are trying to integrate like the home healthcare plus AI. So that's where the future is. So what I believe is, so there will be some device that you can attach it to your iPhone or your Android phone, and that can take like your all the way from blood pressure to even scans. And then it can go against all the radiologists' knowledge, and then it can figure out what kind of problem you have. So there are quite a few companies out there. So the one thing that is already happening is FDA is approving a lot of these autonomous AI solutions. So there is one company right out of Iowa City called IDXDR. So that company actually is not based out of the Bay Area. It's just based out here in Midwest, and they are creating some good vibes. So the one product that is already out there is they're doing diabetic retinopathy treatment. Basically, when a patient walks in, so the eye retina gets scanned through a machine, and then a registered nurse can operate this machine, so you don't need to go to an ophthalmologist. And then the machine does this radiology-based algorithm, which goes and compares against all of these million images, and then comes up with what kind of problem you have, and do you have diabetic retinopathy or not, and what's your treatment plan, and what path you need to take. And all of that happens in like less than 2 minutes. So that just amazes me, because right now, if you have to do this in a traditional setting, it probably takes a month or two to navigate all the healthcare system to get this. And they do it at a much, much cheaper cost, like $300 or $400.
Wow.
And it's already in place. So FDA has approved this a year ago. Google's company, Alphabet's company, Verily, is also in the same space. So they're doing multiple things along the same lines. But what interests me on IDXDR is they have like 10 different patents that are coming up in the pipeline. Through Retina Scan, they can do liver disease detection and kidney disease detections. And so they can come up with treatment plans on the fly. And the cost of care is going to lower significantly. And also it is going to be a better health outcome. And what they're predicting is in the next 5 to 10 years, you don't even have to walk out to a specialty place to do this kind of retina scan. So you would take this little thing, attach it to your phone, and then you can get your retina scanned, and then it's going to come back and tell you, yep, I got your scan. It looks like you haven't done this and this and this. So that's why your liver is getting fatty. So you better start the workout. So it's going to come back and help us out to keep us on track.
Absolutely.
So that's what the AI systems are doing. And IDXDR kind of companies are already proving it. So they have an FDA approval. They're already operating in 3 states. And there are many more companies like this in the space.
Wow. Yeah, that is fascinating. I mean, it's that I was actually even wondering as you were talking if there's a way, even with image recognition, you could sense, maybe not down to the precision that they're talking about, but just, hey, what if I just pointed this system at all my Google Photos, for example? Could it start doing image recognition on people's faces to basically realize that they are coming, that they have conditions.
Yep, the stress level. Yes, Justin. There is a new area called artificial emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So there are a couple of companies. Actually, there is a company called Beyond Verbal that Mayo Clinic is partnering with out here in Rochester, and there is another company, Affectiva. So Affectiva is a MIT spinoff out of Boston. So they both work on the artificial emotional intelligence, and they look at your face, and based on the last 5 days of how your face has changed and how your eyes are opening. And in fact, Affectiva has a very cool presentation. So they ask you to read a paragraph on different times. And then based on your tonal quality and how you read and 100 different things, I'm sure it's all 100 different features for them, for their model. And comes back and says like, okay, this is your, they can do like quite a few heart disease predictions with how you're reading this paragraph of info. So it's already there.
Neat.
It's not rocket science anymore. So this area is called the artificial emotional, and that's picking up quite a bit, and that's going to change healthcare. And what I believe is like we have these tech which will help our docs to do their jobs a lot better. As a doc, you have to show the empathy to the patients. Then if you go look at today's clinics, most of the doctor time is spent in front of the computer screen, isn't it, rather than like with the patient.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a traditional clinic right now. And so that has to change. So with Virtuwell, for instance, when we created the EMR, so we wanted to make all these documentation, whatever the consumer sees. And so that's what the key differentiator is. So how tech like AI can help in predicting the treatment plan, and also asking the right kind of questions to consumers and funneling all of this right kind of data to the providers. So it makes their job a lot easier. So if you go read the reviews at Virtuwell, for instance, we have like 60,000 plus reviews published. A lot of the consumers talk about the empathy and the direct connection, even though it's all virtually delivered.
Right.
It should be the other ways. And if you go to a physical clinic, you should have a lot more better connection. But it's like people get so associated with a lot of the Amazon's products, and then it gets shipped to your home. So it's the same way. So
yeah, it's one of these things where it's like, how can we use computers to do the best thing that they're at, and then how can we use humans to do the best thing that they're at, right?
Yeah, that is what hopefully AI will achieve, and especially in healthcare, it's definitely needed. So I kind of think it's a marriage that happens in the near future, because it has to bring the cost of care down, and hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, you said United States is at 20th in this list of all these various countries. There's obviously access to a lot of these new cool apps that people are going to be having. Virtuwell is one platform. There's just all these other sort of things that are floating around. Do you see us making a dent, I guess, over the next 3 to 5 years to improve? Does it look optimistic?
I think so. Yeah. If you go look at the FDA approval list on all these Internet of healthcare things, plus what is going to come, the whole lab could come to your home in the future. There is a company which is waiting right now, and you pee on this stick, and you send this picture back to the nurse practitioners for analysis, and then they come back with different kind of diagnosis for your kidney disease. And obviously, all of these comes with different safety protocols in place. So the moment it sees something wrong, it obviously directs you to the right place. So even in Virtuwell, we don't treat every patient who walks into virtual.com. So, we obviously have a lot of safety nets around there, and you answer these questions in this way and say, oh, no, you have to go to a clinic immediately, or you have to go to an urgent care, or you have to go to the hospital immediately. So we redirect, and sometimes our providers do that too. Like when it gets, all of this information gets funneled to them, and they do the correct care.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious, I guess, kind of for people that are on the outside of healthcare and all this new smart technology. I mean, what's sort of the day in the life of somebody who's the CIO, CTO of a healthcare startup like this? And I don't know if you guys still call yourself a startup.
Yeah. We still call us ourselves. It's a 10-year-old company. It's part of HealthPartners, which is a huge one out here in the Twin Cities. Yes, Virtuwell, even though it's 10 plus years, it's a small company. So we are more like the health labs division. I would say not a health labs, health technical labs. So we are more an innovation division of HealthPartners. Yeah, day in my life, we have multiple releases going on at the same time, Justin. So we run in a private cloud.
Okay.
Virtuwell.com is only one small piece of what we do. The actual EHR, EMR, we do work with 20 different insurance companies. So the revenue cycle in healthcare, I can talk about it for like 2 days nonstop on cycle and how we need to do definite improvements on how we work with insurance, because almost all these technology that they use in play is 40 or 30 plus years old.
Really?
Yeah. And in the current EHR EMR that a lot of hospitals use, it uses a software that was written 20 years ago. Okay. So it had few updates in the last few years. So that's where this problem is. And it's a Virtuwell uses its own custom developed EHR EMR, and that gets an update every couple of weeks.
Sure.
It's a lot of feature engineering, working with the product owners, and we are a HIPPA compliant, HITEC compliant, PCI DSS. So that takes up some of my time. Sometimes doing a Scrum Master role, future proofing. The other big thing that takes up my time is now systems engineering, teamwork, and cloud infrastructure. And I do a lot of one-on-ones with my team members. We usually, when we are in the office during summertime, we take a little 30-minute walk around our neighborhood in St. Paul. Right now we are doing virtual walks, or sometimes whatever works for everybody. So the one-on-one I really value. Some folks want to grow their career in this direction, some want to grow in this, and they want to be part of that team. So a couple of data science engineers in Virtuwell, so they started their careers as software engineers, and they took different courses in the last 3-4 years, and they came into the data science world. Our production data analyst, she started her career as a business analyst. So now she knows more about our data than even some of our data engineers, actually. So she's been in the company for 7-8 years. So that's where most of my time goes. Obviously, our goal at Virtuwell is to minimize meetings. I actually start my conversation and how many emails did you send in the last 2 weeks, for instance. So we want to minimize the number of emails that floats around. So we use chat room, but a lot of meaningful discussions in Wiki and Jira. I hardly spend my time, like maybe 10-15 minutes max on email. And my goal before retirement is to spend zero time
on email. Yeah, it's just too much of a distraction. You get stuck in a loop, feels like. One comes in, you got to deal with it. Next one comes in, you got to deal with it.
So and then some of it I don't even reply, so then it gets into garbage bin. So if people really need info, they'll ping me in the different chat room.
For sure. Well, yeah, you kind of touched a little bit on it as you were speaking. I was sort of thinking about how people get into this field, right? It sounds like you have a lot of people that they came to it through software, I guess, in some ways, or they came to it through a data science practice.
Yes. Two different but some, like my current product owner on the AI team, actually, she was a rules engineer. So she worked on rule engine, a lot of explainabilities there, structural interviewing. And so that's what we started using 10, 11 years ago at Virtuwell. And we do have a lot of play over there. So she started her career as a rules content engineer.
Yeah.
Now she is doing the product owner role. So as long as you know what data you're working with, you can get into data science field for sure. What people are missing is they will have to go take something in a Coursera or IDXDR or datacamp.org. There are like 5 or 15 different places where you can go learn. So these are good university programs.
So you would recommend, say, if somebody were to get into this, they definitely want to take a course, get a certification or something in some way.
Yes. There are like so many good courses out there in Coursera, IDXDR, datacamp. Those are the 3 that comes to my mind. So they all have good programs. It's a 3-month program to begin with, 6 months, 2 years. So you can strengthen, go to Kaggle competitions. There are a lot of open source. What have you done in PyTorch? Are you working on Scratch?
Yeah, these are all questions that you guys asked during your interview process, I'm assuming. The things that you look for.
Yeah.
for candidates.
Yeah, yes, for sure.
So we've touched a little bit on sort of like the future. Great, I'd be able to pull up my phone and take a picture maybe of my face, or like you said, retina scans and stuff like that.
Yeah, as of now, you can like a lot of skin conditions, people take pictures and send it to our nurse practitioners. And there is a company that we work with. They have different kinds of pictures for different skin conditions. And the moment you upload this data, it comes back and tells you like a 90% confidence level that this person has this specific condition. So there is already proven algorithms to do these kind of predictions on skin conditions. But what the future holds us, Justin, is taking a retina scan, or people are saying you can take the whole, the otoscope that we use right now is like 30 years old, isn't it? Whatever we use at our clinics. So now you have a much better resolution camera at your fingertip, and you have to attach a certain thing to your camera, to your cell phone, and then you can take a much better ear canal picture in the future. And what do you do with it? Unfortunately, we are clueless on that, isn't it? So the virtual kind of platforms will connect you to the right kind of nurse practitioner or physician to get you to the right kind of treatment plan.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. So it's not just making the diagnosis, but then also connecting you to the right place as a treatment plan.
Yep. You want your own personalized care.
These algorithms and stuff like that, they still seem very specialized.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
You don't feel like there's basically general AI going on out there yet. Do you think we'll ever get there, or?
A lot of the AI systems right now are very narrow, and that is where a lot of the FDA approvals are also going into that kind of narrow intelligence. But I am hoping in the next few years. Have you seen the Google I/O whenever they do the demos? A couple of years ago there was this Chinese restaurant conversation with the CEO of Google. So that's where a lot of the newer AI techniques are coming. So I'm hoping that in the next 5 years, Verily or somebody will come up with some kind of a broader intelligence product out there.
Excellent. Yeah, cool. Well, your experience, I think, has been in healthcare, specifically around AI and healthcare. It's do you? I guess do you see yourself staying in healthcare? I guess do you see some other interesting AI applications? I guess gosh, it just spans so many different areas. Healthcare.
Oh yeah. I don't think so. It has anything to do with healthcare. AI is a tech play. Whatever you do to have a better customer engagement. This is where, like, I am sure you were under this discussion like 22 years ago when I was at Deluxe Checks. There were quite a few people. We're a check printing company, isn't it?
Right.
And so why do we need to sell all these things? The Deluxe had like a lot of business forms and different things. Okay. So a lot of people had skepticism on why do we need to do this over the internet? People will pick up the phone, they'll order, isn't it? That's what a financial institution 30 years ago was probably wondering. It's like, oh, we all are making transactions through these banking systems, and I'm going to call this broker to do these transactions.
Yeah.
That industry has changed, isn't it? So what I'm saying is AI will impact every industry. You could be selling generators, but you have to have some kind of an AI in play in the next 25 years.
Yeah, otherwise you're just going to fall behind, right? You're going to be printing checks when everybody else has moved online.
Exactly. So Deluxe has, yeah, they have reinvented themselves and they're staying, isn't it? I'm sure there are companies like Blockbuster. They were given a couple of opportunities, huh? Even Netflix came to Blockbuster, but they never listened. And I'm sure there are companies like Sears and JCPenney's or Macy's. Or you could be like Target reinventing themselves every 15, 20 years, and you can survive.
Yeah, you mentioned Target. I was checking out at Target the other day doing the self-checkout, and they've got a camera there. They're videoing me as I'm doing it, obviously for more security reasons. But I don't know what Target's doing internally with that, but there's got to be something there. Right. They're obviously capturing customer actions as they're checking out. Could they do something around sentiment analysis on people? How happy are the customers?
I am sure.
Yeah.
I am sure. Go look at Target. I'm not related to Target. I've never worked there, but if you go look at their data science engineering team, there is a lot of active work going on over there. Land O'Lakes, there's a lot of work going on. I'm seeing all these things in different conferences and the kind of data that they come and present. So Land O'Lakes is a milk and butter company. Really look at it, but they have a lot of AI engineers. I always go talk to my HealthPartners CIO. It's like, do you know how many people are there at Cargill working on these kind of things?
Oh, yeah.
And Optum has a huge division of data science, hundreds of people working on this kind of stuff right now.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, you mentioned mobile first companies, and now people need to be AI first in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Feels like, yeah, we're in this next phase.
Correct.
For sure.
Otherwise, you'll be a blockbuster.
Right. Yep. For sure. Well, great. This has been a great conversation. I wasn't sure, if there's anything else that I didn't touch on that you would want to share. Maybe do you have you mentioned presentations and stuff like that. Are you presenting anywhere coming up that you would want to talk about? Do you have a website or anything else that you would want to share? But I'll let you share anything here as we wrap up.
Yeah, I'm not very active on any personal websites, or just keep my LinkedIn profile out there. So your work has to speak for yourself is what I believe in. So a lot of the things happen inside Virtuwell, but my long-term idea is to go back to teaching, Justin. I don't know. I have a passion for coaching and teaching, so I want to get back into some kind of adjunct faculty. So I did my MBA from St. Thomas 15 years ago. So I have both engineering and also business and finance master's degree. So it is time to give back. So I do go to a lot of conferences, yes, locally, and also I go to the couple of AI conferences outside of Twin Cities, one in the Bay Area and one in the East. Last year I was in Boston. Sometimes I present, sometimes you go in there to learn and listen. It kind of refreshes you on what is going on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's so hard to it's so easy, I guess I should say, to get stuck in your own lane and keep your head down, just be plugging away, and forget about, just sometimes it makes sense to pop up.
Right.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see as conferences continue to become, at least in the short term, more and more virtual. But getting that outside perspective can really, really help you across industries. Hey, I didn't know that these guys were doing this stuff over here, and how could I apply it back to what I'm doing?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So there are a couple of good conferences locally here. The Internet of Things Conference, OS, and the Open Source North. These are two tech conferences out here in town, which I attend every year. And then the big event in Best Buy, the Minnebar.
Yep. Minnebar was awesome, and they just had a Minnebar the other week. I'm not sure you remember that.
Yeah. So I mean, if you haven't been to a Minnebar, I would definitely say like you should be there if you're a tech person in Twin Cities. I missed the first couple of years. Ever since they moved to Best Buy.
Yeah, it's a great event. It's a great event, and it's free, right? So a lot of these things are just there. It's just, it takes your time to go, but if you're something you're passionate about, it's well worth it.
Yeah.
Well, great. I appreciate your time today, Senthil, and look forward to continuing to follow you and everything that's going on at Virtuwell. I'll be sure to put your LinkedIn, obviously, in the liner notes and stuff like that for this episode, and let's for sure keep in touch. Thank you for being a part of the community.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you so much. Thanks.
You've listened to another episode of the Conversations on AppliedAI podcast. We hope you are eager to learn more about applying artificial intelligence and deep learning within your organization. You can visit us at AppliedAI.mn to keep up to date on our events and connect with our amazing community. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Justin at AppliedAI.mn if you are interested in participating in a future episode. Thank you for listening.